Pick one sister, human. The other will be put to death now. My life's most impossible choice. The twin sons of Zithra painted the sky in shades of orange and violet, casting long shadows over the jagged terrain. Dust swirled across the rocky plains, making the alien city appear like a fortress built from the very planet itself. Captain Arik stood at the edge of a cliff, staring down at the Cliven tribunal below. His chest tightened, not from fear of the alien guards, but from the impossible choice that lay before him. "Pick one sister, human, now!" The voice echoed across the canyon, deep and metallic. It belonged to the Cliven commander, an enormous figure with 4 arms and eyes that reflected no emotion. He towered over everything, a living embodiment of their law, rigid, unyielding, and cruel. Arik swallowed hard. In front of him, Lyra and Myra were shackled, standing side by side. Lyra, the older of the two, held her head high, her eyes flashing determination. Myra, younger and smaller, trembled slightly, but her gaze never left her sister's face. Both were human, both his responsibility, and now both at the mercy of a species that saw humans as nothing more than expendable creatures. "Arik," Lyra whispered, her voice steady despite the chains, "don't let them break you. We are human. We survive, we think, we find a way." Arik looked at her, his mind spinning. He had led humans across countless hostile worlds, faced alien fleets, and survived conditions that should have killed him. Yet nothing had prepared him for this. Nothing could prepare a man for choosing which of 2 sisters lived and which would die. The Clivans, towering and calm, watched him carefully. In their world, emotions were irrelevant. Decisions were logic, and logic demanded sacrifice. That was why the command was simple: pick one and the other dies. Fail and both die. Lyra stepped forward, her chains clinking. "Captain, you know us both, you know who we are, you know what we mean to the mission, but don't let that guide your choice. Think with your mind, not just your heart." Myra's hands shook as she whispered, "I don't want him to choose, I don't want either of us to." Her voice caught and she swallowed hard. "I don't want this to happen." Arik clenched his fists. The wind whipped past him, carrying the alien dust and the smell of the planet's strange minerals. He had trained for combat, for exploration, for leadership, but no training could prepare him for this moment. The tribunal's timer was counting down, and the Clivens were patient predators. They had given him minutes to decide, but every second felt like an eternity. He thought of humanity, of the countless worlds they had colonized, of the challenges they had faced. Earth had been a crucible, shaping humans into survivors, thinkers, and creators. They had endured war, famine, disease, and disaster. And yet here on Zithra, the survival of 2 humans rested on a single impossible decision. Arik's mind raced. Could he find another way? Could humans' ingenuity save them both? He looked at the Clivan's command center, a massive structure of dark crystal that seemed almost alive. He noticed the thin lines of energy running across its surface, communication channels, control circuits, perhaps weaknesses. Human hands and minds had never faced technology like this, but humans had always adapted. Lyra caught his eye. "We can help, Arik. Trust us. Don't just look for the choice they want you to make. Look for a way out." He nodded slightly, drawing courage from her words. Arik knew that humans thrived on the impossible. Every time humanity had faced extinction, they had survived through clever thinking, courage, and unity. Maybe this was just another challenge. Maybe this was the moment where human ingenuity could shine brighter than any alien weapon or law. The Clivens waited, their patience unnerving. The commander raised one of his 4 arms and motioned toward the sisters. "Time runs out, human. Decide, or both will be erased." Arik's mind worked quickly. He studied the terrain, the Clivens' patrols, the energy channels running through the tribunal's walls. A plan began to form, risky and uncertain, but it might give them a chance. Humans were not meant to follow rules blindly. They created rules, they bent rules, and sometimes they broke them to survive. "Captain," Myra said quietly, "what are you thinking?" "Something," Arik replied, though he did not want to reveal it yet. "But it will require both of you to trust me completely." Lyra stepped closer, determination burning in her eyes. "We trust you, we have no other choice." Myra nodded, squeezing her sister's hand. "We trust you too." Arik took a deep breath and turned toward the Clivens. "Wait," he said loudly, trying to sound calm and authoritative. The alien guards froze, surprised by the human's sudden confidence. "Do not execute anyone yet, I have a proposal." The Cliven commander tilted his head. A proposal is meaningless. The decision is final. You have 1 more minute. Eric ignored the warning. He pointed to the energy lines running across the tribunal. I can show you a way to test human worth, a challenge that proves who survives, not by simple choice, but by skill, intelligence, and teamwork. If my humans succeed, you will see that humanity is valuable in ways you cannot measure by fear. The Clivans were silent. They had never encountered such defiance. Logic dictated that threats be obeyed immediately, but Eric's words contained a spark of strategy. Perhaps there was merit in seeing if humans could solve complex problems. Lyra and Myra exchanged glances. Eric saw hope flicker in their eyes. Hope was dangerous, yes, but it was also powerful. Humans had survived because they never gave up hope. Very well, the Clivan commander said finally, his voice calm but edged with curiosity. One challenge, fail and both die, succeed and both live, you have 5 minutes. Eric exhaled sharply. 5 minutes to turn an impossible choice into a chance. He quickly assessed the sisters' strengths. Lyra was tactical, precise, and quick-thinking. Myra was empathetic, perceptive, and persuasive. Together, they complemented each other perfectly, and together with Eric, they might just outthink the Clivans. Here's the plan, Eric whispered. Lyra, you will manipulate the tribunal's control systems. Myra, you will observe and exploit any reaction from the Clivans. I'll create a diversion, giving you both the time and opportunity to act. Can you do it? Lyra's eyes glinted. We can. Let's show them what humans are capable of. Myra nodded, steeling herself. We have to, for each other and for our species. The countdown continued, each second a hammer against Eric's chest. He moved swiftly, using every skill he had learned as a soldier, explorer, and leader. The Clivans watched, intrigued by the humans' energy, their determination, their refusal to bow. As Eric initiated the diversion, a cloud of alien dust swirled around him. He darted between patrols, tripping sensors and creating confusion. Lyra worked at the control panel, her fingers flying over buttons and energy conduits, rerouting power to create temporary blind spots. Myra watched the Clivans' reactions, noting every twitch, every hesitation, feeding the information back to Eric and Lyra. Time seemed to slow. Every heartbeat felt like a drum of war. Humans had faced impossible odds before, but never in such a moral crucible. The sisters and Eric relied on instinct, trust, and teamwork. They adapted, calculated, and improvised. The Clivans, powerful and logical, began to falter. They were not accustomed to seeing humans think in real time, to see courage and cleverness combined in such a relentless manner. It was unsettling. Finally, as the 5 minutes drew near, the diversion succeeded. Lyra found a critical flaw in the tribunal system. Myra had noted a weakness in the alien command hierarchy. Eric, seeing the opportunity, moved quickly to seize it. For the first time, the impossible choice seemed less like a death sentence and more like a challenge, a test of human ingenuity, courage, and unity. And for humans, no challenge was too great. The Clivans' command room buzzed with confusion, and Eric knew the next few minutes would decide the fate of not one, but both sisters. Eric looked at Lyra and Myra, their faces illuminated by the alien energy panels. We can do this, he said. Together. Lyra and Myra nodded, their fear replaced by determination. In that moment, humanity's true strength was clear, not in weapons or numbers, but in courage, intelligence, and the refusal to accept defeat. And so, on the jagged plains of Zithra, with 2 suns blazing overhead and alien judgment closing in, the impossible choice became a fight not for life alone, but for the human spirit itself. The air on Zithra felt heavier after the diversion. Dust swirled like small storms across the rocky plains, and the twin suns cast long shadows over the alien tribunal. Captain Eric crouched behind a jagged rock formation, his chest still pounding from the adrenaline of the diversion. Beside him, Lyra and Myra were free from their immediate restraints but still watched warily, knowing that the Clivans' patience was formidable. Lyra's eyes scanned the tribunal. That was close, she whispered. Too close. If we're going to survive, we have to do more than just react. We need a plan that outsmarts them completely. Eric nodded. I know, but we need to be careful. The Clivans are patient. They don't act until they are certain of failure. That gives us an advantage, but only if we use it well. Myra shifted uneasily. But Captain, what if they catch us again? What if I make a mistake? You won't, Lyra said firmly. We are human, we adapt, we survive. Remember what Earth taught us. Eric smiled faintly at that. She was right. Humanity had endured floods, fires, wars, and famines. The human race had survived because it refused to give up. And now, on a distant planet, that same determination was needed more than ever. They moved carefully toward a ridge overlooking the Tribunal's energy control hub. Eric had studied the Clivans' patterns during their brief diversion. They were precise, but not infallible. Every species had a weakness, and humans had learned to find them. "We need to understand them first," Eric said, crouching low. "Their decisions are guided by logic, not emotion. That's why they set up the Pick One challenge. To them, it's simple. Sacrifice equals order, but humans don't work like that. Humans think beyond simple logic." Lyra nodded. "I think I can access their control panels again. If we can disrupt their monitoring system, we might buy enough time to force a real choice, one that doesn't require anyone to die." Myra frowned. "And if it fails?" Eric looked at her. "Then we try something else. Humans don't give up." The Clivans, meanwhile, were observing from above. Their four-armed guards moved silently across the rocky terrain, scanning for any sign of human misbehavior. The Clivan commander's eyes were sharp and cold, but there was a flicker of something new, curiosity. Humans were unpredictable. They defied expectations. Perhaps they were more interesting than simple obedience. Eric motioned for the sisters to follow. "We move carefully. Lyra, Myra, stick close. Watch every signal. Communicate silently. Timing will be everything." The trio crept along the ridge, keeping to the shadows of jagged rocks. Every step required precision. One wrong move, one alert guard, and the plan would fail. But humans thrived in impossible situations. Every challenge was a chance to adapt. Every danger a chance to survive. Lyra knelt beside a partially exposed energy panel. "I think I can override their sensors," she whispered, fingers moving quickly over the alien interface. "But it's risky. One wrong input and they'll know exactly where we are." Eric watched her work. "Do it. Myra, watch their patrols. Give us cues if anything changes." Myra focused, her sharp eyes scanning the Clivan's movements. She noticed subtle shifts, the tilt of a head, the pause in a guard's step, the flicker of energy along a control conduit. Every detail mattered. Humans had evolved to read nuance, to interpret signals that others overlooked. Minutes passed, each second stretching into eternity. Lyra's fingers flew across the panel, rerouting energy and creating temporary blind spots in the Tribunal's monitoring system. Eric kept watch, ready to act at the slightest sign of danger. Myra silently communicated what she saw with subtle gestures, coordinating with both Eric and Lyra. Finally, Lyra straightened. "It's done. Sensors are partially disabled. We have 10 minutes before they realize something is wrong. 10 minutes is all we need." Eric nodded. "Good. Now comes the hardest part, convincing the Clivans that they don't need to enforce their rule through death. That's something they've never understood before. They value logic, not life. But humans can show them a different kind of logic." Myra looked worried. "And if they don't understand?" Eric's jaw tightened. "Then we adapt again. Humans always adapt." The three moved down the ridge, closer to the Tribunal's command structure. Every step was calculated, measured. The Clivans' patrols were predictable but fast, their movements precise. Yet even the fastest and strongest could not match human ingenuity when it was combined with courage and teamwork. Lyra paused, studying the energy conduits. "If I can redirect the energy flow here," she said, pointing, "we can create a false signal. It will make the Clivans believe their systems are intact, even while we manipulate them from inside." Eric studied the plan. "Perfect. And Myra?" "I'll signal the guards," she said, nodding. "Just subtle enough so they think nothing is happening, but enough for us to control their movements." Together, the three moved like a single unit, humans united by trust, determination, and the need to survive. Every skill they had learned, every instinct honed over centuries of human history was in play. The Clivans noticed something was off. Sensors flickered, patrols paused, and for a moment the Tribunal's command structure seemed uncertain. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but the Clivans had never encountered humans who could combine strategy with moral courage. Eric whispered to the sisters, "This is it. We push forward. We show them that humans are not just subjects to be judged. They are problem solvers, thinkers, survivors." Lyra smiled faintly. "We were born for impossible situations." Myra nodded. "And we don't give up." With precision, they activated the manipulated conduits. Guards shifted. Energy flowed differently, and the Clivans' systems were thrown into confusion. It was subtle enough that the aliens did not immediately recognize the manipulation, giving the humans the crucial advantage. Eric moved closer to the Cliven commander, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. "You have set rules, yes," he said loudly. "Rules that seem absolute, but you see now that humans do not follow the same logic. We think differently. We adapt. We solve problems that seem impossible." The Cliven commander's eyes narrowed, studying him. "You speak boldly for a human. Words are meaningless. Actions define value." Eric nodded. "Then watch our actions. Let us prove that both humans can live, not by sacrifice, but by ingenuity, courage, and teamwork." Lyra and Myra stepped forward, each playing their part. Lyra manipulated the systems, creating calculated blind spots and redirecting energy. Myra observed the Clivans, noting hesitation and subtly influencing their movements. Every gesture, every calculation was perfectly coordinated. Humans had survived for millennia because they could think on their feet, solve problems that logic alone could not solve, and work together even in the most extreme situations. The Clivans, powerful and precise, were beginning to falter. Their logic could not account for unpredictability combined with skill and moral courage. Humans had a type of intelligence that no alien system could fully measure, an adaptability born of history, hardship, and survival. Minutes passed, each one bringing the humans closer to proving their worth. The impossible choice, the ultimatum that had seemed so absolute, was no longer a sentence. It was a challenge, a test, and humans thrived on tests. They had survived against odds that should have destroyed them, and now, on Zithra, they were about to prove it again. Eric, Lyra, and Myra moved with precision and unity, every action calculated but every step inspired by hope. They were not just fighting for life. They were fighting for what it meant to be human, intelligent, adaptable, brave, and never willing to give up. As the Clivens' confusion grew, Eric whispered, "Hold steady. This is our chance. Humans never fail when we fight together." Lyra nodded. "Together, always together." Myra took a deep breath. "We can do this." The three stood, ready to face the next phase of their challenge. Humans had survived impossible choices before. They had endured every kind of hardship imaginable. And now, faced with a choice that should have destroyed them, they were showing that humanity's true power was not in strength alone, but in courage, intelligence, and the ability to adapt. And on Zithra, with the twin suns blazing overhead, the impossible choice was beginning to crumble. Humans were proving that no alien law, no ultimatum, and no threat could measure the depth of human ingenuity and heart. The rocky plains of Zithra were quiet now, almost deceptively so. Dust swirled lightly in the air, shimmering under the twin suns. Captain Eric crouched behind a jagged outcrop, his mind racing. Every Cliven patrol had been observed, every energy conduit studied, and now the moment had come. Humanity's survival and the lives of Lyra and Myra depended on what they would do next. Lyra adjusted the small devices she had fashioned from alien tech during their diversion. Her fingers moved quickly, recalibrating signals and energy flows, creating false paths for the Clivens' monitoring systems. She was a master of patterns, able to predict movements and responses, and now she was using her skill to manipulate a species far larger and stronger than humans. Myra crouched beside her, scanning the horizon. "They're getting suspicious," she whispered. "Some of the patrols are slowing down. I think they sense something is wrong." Eric's jaw tightened. "Good, that hesitation is all we need. Humans survive because we notice things others overlook. That pause, that doubt, they can't predict what we will do next." The sisters shared a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. Fear had been replaced by determination. Their lives were on the line, yes, but they were humans, and humans were never powerless, not truly. "Ready?" Eric asked. Lyra nodded. "We have one chance. One clean strike. If we fail, it's over." Myra took a deep breath. "Then let's make it count." They moved forward, blending into the rocky terrain. The Clivens' patrols passed nearby, their forearms moving gracefully but with alien precision. To an observer, they were flawless, but humans had evolved to spot small flaws, subtle weaknesses that others missed. Eric whispered to the sisters, "Lyra, take the panel on the left. Myra, you follow me. Timing is everything." The team split. Lyra's hands worked quickly on the control panel. Wires, conduits, and alien code ran like rivers beneath her fingers. She rerouted energy flows, creating blind spots that would let the humans pass undetected. Every adjustment had to be perfect. A single miscalculation could alert the Clivans and end everything. Myra followed Eric closely. Her eyes scanned the horizon, noting the smallest movements. She signaled when a guard paused, allowing Eric to duck behind cover. Humans were not as strong as the Clivans, not as fast, but they had ingenuity, and that made all the difference. Minutes passed, each one stretching longer than the last. Sweat dripped down Eric's brow, dust and heat making every movement a struggle. Yet he kept moving, drawing on human resilience. Humans survived environments that should have killed them. They survived wars, famines, and disasters. And now, on Zithra, that same resilience was proving invaluable. Lyra's hands moved with precision. She was close to completing the recalibration. "Almost there," she whispered. "Just a few more connections, done," Eric signaled to Myra. "Time to move. Lyra, cover us if they notice anything." Myra nodded, her heart pounding. They moved swiftly, using the blind spots Lyra had created. The Clivans' patrols were unaware, moving in their patterns, oblivious to the humans weaving through them. Humans were masters of adaptation, and now that mastery was on full display. Suddenly, a Clivan guard shifted unexpectedly, stepping directly into their path. Myra froze for a heartbeat, but Eric reacted instantly, throwing a small dust device they had improvised. The dust cloud rose, temporarily blinding the guard and allowing the humans to slip past. "That was too close," Myra whispered, catching her breath. Eric gritted his teeth. "Close is human territory. Close is where we survive. Keep moving." They reached the edge of the tribunal's command hub. From here, they could see the Clivan commander, his forearms crossed, eyes scanning. He was aware something was happening, but humans were unpredictable. That unpredictability had always been their strength. Lyra tapped on the final panel. Energy flows shifted, lights flickered, and alarms that might have betrayed them stayed silent. The Clivans were confused. Their logic could not account for human creativity and moral courage working together. Eric whispered, "Now, Myra, signal." Myra stepped forward, moving with calm authority. She raised her hands slightly, catching the Clivans' attention but not threateningly. She spoke softly, deliberately. "You see what we are doing. We are not your enemies in the way you think. We are humans, intelligent, adaptable, capable of problem-solving. Let us prove our worth without sacrifice." The Clivan commander's head tilted. "Words are meaningless. Actions define value." Eric stepped forward. "Then watch our actions, observe how humans think. We survive through unity, courage, and ingenuity. Let us show you that both lives, both sisters, can live without punishment. Let us show you that humanity cannot be reduced to simple logic or fear." The Clivans paused, their four-armed guards halting. Uncertainty flickered across the alien faces. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but this combination of courage, skill, and strategy was something new, something remarkable. Lyra activated a final adjustment, causing the control panels to display false readings. The Clivans' systems appeared normal, but the humans had full control over the energy flows. It was subtle, clever, and completely human. Eric took a deep breath. "We are ready, all of us together." The Clivan commander studied him, then spoke slowly. "You seek to manipulate what is beyond your understanding. You defy law." "Yes," Eric replied calmly. "We do, but humans survive by understanding what others cannot. We survive by working together, by thinking beyond what is imposed upon us. That is the essence of humanity." Lyra and Myra stepped forward, standing beside him. "We are human," Lyra said. "We do not give up, we do not break under fear, and we do not accept impossible choices when there is a solution to be found." Myra added, "We trust each other, we trust ourselves. And we trust that our actions can prove our worth." For the first time, the Clivans hesitated. Their logic was sound, yes, but humans had done something extraordinary. They had turned a rigid ultimatum into a challenge. They had not bowed to fear, and they had not accepted death as inevitable. Eric saw the moment of hesitation and acted. Using the blind spots Lyra had created, he moved closer to the tribunal's central control, disrupting the energy flow in a way that forced the Clivans' attention entirely on him. Guards shifted, diverted, and reacted, but always a step behind. Humans had used unpredictability, ingenuity, and coordination to turn the tables. Lyra's hands moved with precision, keeping the false signals active, while Myra observed, guiding Eric's movements with subtle cues. Every step was calculated, every gesture synchronized. The humans were a single unit, their minds and actions working in harmony, displaying what no alien logic could fully predict. The Clivans realized something remarkable. Humans were not bound by simple rules or fear. Humans could adapt, think creatively, and work together in ways that made even the most disciplined alien forces hesitate. Arik, feeling the momentum, addressed the commander. "We do not ask for mercy. We ask for recognition of our ability to survive, to solve problems, and to act with intelligence and courage. We do not need to sacrifice each other to prove worth. Humanity proves its value every time it refuses to be cornered, every time it chooses ingenuity over despair." The tribunal paused. For moments that stretched like hours, silence hung over the rocky plains. The Clivans' logic circuits, trained to handle orders and obedience, could not fully comprehend the human approach. Courage, intelligence, adaptability, these were not variables in their system. Arik felt a surge of hope. This was the moment. The impossible choice had shifted. Death was no longer the only outcome. Humans had created an alternative. Humanity had turned fear into strategy, oppression into opportunity, and despair into courage. Lyra stepped beside Arik. "Captain," she said softly, "we did it. We are showing them what humans can do." Myra nodded, eyes bright. "And both of us can live. We can survive together." The Clivan commander finally spoke. "You have demonstrated unexpected capability. Your species is different from others we have judged." Arik's chest swelled. It was not victory yet, but it was recognition, the first step toward survival. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and now, even on an alien world, they had proven that ingenuity, courage, and unity could challenge the most rigid of rules. As the sun set behind the jagged peaks of Zithra, casting long shadows over the plains, Arik, Lyra, and Myra stood together. They had faced the impossible and had begun to turn it in their favor. Humanity was not just a species to be judged. It was a force to be understood, respected, and feared for its adaptability and courage. On Zithra, under twin suns, humans had begun to win not through strength, but through the power that had always defined them: heart, mind, and unity. The tribunal's fortress loomed ahead, massive and intimidating, built from dark, jagged crystal that seemed to drink the light. From Zithra's twin suns, Captain Arik led Lyra and Myra across the rocky terrain, moving carefully but with purpose. Every step they took had to be precise. The Clivans were still unsettled by the humans' earlier actions, but they were not yet defeated. The final test awaited. Lyra glanced at Arik. "This is it. We're about to face them directly. Are you ready?" Arik nodded, though his heart still raced. "We have no choice. Humans survive by facing challenges head-on, and this is our moment. Stay sharp, trust each other, and trust yourself." Myra exhaled slowly, trying to calm her nerves. "It feels impossible. I keep thinking about what they said, pick one sister or both die. How can we even begin to change that?" Arik's eyes softened. "By showing them something they can't ignore. Humans are not just subjects to be judged. We solve problems, we adapt, and we never give up. That is our strength." As they approached the tribunal, Clivan guards patrolled in four-armed formation, their eyes sharp and unyielding. But the humans had already learned to exploit the smallest hesitation, the tiniest flaw. Arik gestured for Lyra and Myra to follow the shadows of the rocks. Lyra whispered, "I can access the control panels inside. If I can manipulate the system, we can create confusion without violence. We don't need to fight, we need to outthink them." Arik nodded. "Exactly. Remember, humans survive not just with strength, but with intelligence and teamwork." They slipped through the shadows and entered a narrow passage that led to the tribunal's interior. The crystal walls reflected strange light, making the space feel otherworldly. The Clivan commander sat at the center, observing the room with his multiple eyes. Around him, alien guards moved with silent precision. Arik stepped forward, raising his hands in a gesture of respect but also authority. "We are here to show you what humans are capable of. Not through fear, not through sacrifice, but through intelligence, courage, and unity." The Clivan commander's eyes narrowed. "You have manipulated systems, avoided guards, and created confusion, yet you speak of intelligence as though it changes anything. Your species has no place here unless it obeys our rules." Myra stepped beside Arik, her voice calm but firm. "We do obey rules, our own rules, the rules of survival, of thought, and of morality. Humans do not sacrifice each other because someone else demands it. We prove our value through what we can accomplish together. The Clivans paused. It was clear that the humans' approach was unlike anything they had encountered before. Their logic systems were precise, but human ingenuity did not fit neatly into logic. Courage, creativity, and empathy were factors the Clivans could not fully measure. Lyra moved quickly to a nearby control panel. Her fingers danced over alien keys, rerouting energy flows and creating subtle diversions. Small alarms blinked, but nothing sounded. The guards moved in patterns dictated by her manipulations, unaware that they were being guided by human hands. Eric kept his eyes on the commander. Observe. Humans solve problems that others cannot. We adapt, we think, and we act. You cannot judge us by the simplicity of your rules alone. The Clivan commander rose, his forearms spreading wide. Your actions are clever, but your words are meaningless. Intelligence is measured by obedience and results, not speeches. Then let the results speak for themselves, Eric replied. Watch closely. Lyra activated a sequence that caused energy conduits to shift subtly, creating temporary blind spots and forcing the Clivan's guards to move in ways they had not anticipated. Myra observed carefully, noting patterns and signaling adjustments. Humans had become a single unit, working with precision and trust, demonstrating coordination that no alien system could fully predict. The Clivan commander's head tilted. For the first time, doubt flickered across his alien features. Humans were unlike any species they had judged before. They were clever, determined, and united in ways the Clivans had not anticipated. Eric pressed the advantage. This is how humans survive. We face impossible choices and find solutions. We do not let fear dictate our actions. We do not bow to ultimatums. We create our own path. Myra stepped forward, her voice steady. Both sisters can live. Both humans can survive. We do not need death to prove worth. We only need opportunity and the chance to demonstrate our abilities. The commander's forearms shifted, a signal that the guards were to hold. Your species is unpredictable. You defy logic in ways that are difficult to understand. That is what makes humans strong, Eric said. Our strength is not just physical. It is in our courage, our intelligence, and our willingness to face the impossible together. If you truly want to judge humanity, do not judge by fear or sacrifice. Judge by what we can accomplish when given the chance. Lyra and Myra moved in unison, completing the manipulations on the control panels. Energy flows shifted, lights flickered, and the guards moved with apparent autonomy, but it was all orchestrated by the humans. Every action, every movement was calculated, precise, and unified. The Clivans' confusion grew. Their logic could not predict or counteract human creativity combined with teamwork. Humans were showing them that value was not measured by obedience alone. Humans could solve problems that others could not even perceive. Eric took a step forward. We do not seek to defy you for the sake of defiance. We seek to show that humans are capable of more than you realize. We solve problems. We protect each other. We adapt. That is the essence of humanity. The Clivan commander's eyes flickered as he studied the humans. Your species is different. Perhaps there is merit in observing further. Myra exhaled quietly. We just need a chance. One chance to prove that both of us can survive without compromise, without sacrifice. Lyra smiled faintly. And we will. Humans always find a way when there seems to be none. The commander finally spoke. You have demonstrated skill, courage, and creativity. But the test is not yet complete. Prove that your species can survive together, not just individually. Show me the choice is not required. Eric nodded. We accept. Watch closely. Using the blind spots and diversions Lyra had created, Eric led the sisters to the central control hub. Every step required precision and trust. Humans had survived by relying on each other, by combining their strengths, and by thinking beyond what seemed possible. Lyra activated a final adjustment, creating a stable pathway through the tribunal's energy systems. The guards, unaware, moved according to her calculations, never noticing the humans weaving through them. Myra observed carefully, signaling each movement, ensuring that timing and coordination remained perfect. Eric, Lyra, and Myra reached the central platform, standing together in front of the Clivan commander. We have demonstrated what humans can do, Eric said. We survive, we adapt, and we protect each other. The choice you imposed is not necessary. Humanity is capable of proving value without sacrifice. The Cliven commander studied them silently, his forearms folded. The alien tribunal had never seen such coordinated, intelligent defiance. Humans were unlike any species they had encountered. They did not act out of fear, they did not bend under pressure. They created solutions, faced impossible odds, and remained united. Finally, the commander spoke. "Your actions are remarkable. You have proven that both individuals can survive without adherence to our imposed choice. Perhaps your species is more than we expected." Lyra exhaled, a small smile breaking across her face. Myra's eyes filled with relief, but she kept her composure. Eric felt the weight on his shoulders lighten slightly. Humans had not only survived, they had turned an impossible situation into a demonstration of ingenuity, courage, and unity. Eric stepped forward, addressing the commander once more. "This is what makes humanity strong, not obedience, not fear, not sacrifice. Unity, courage, intelligence, and the refusal to accept impossibility. We survive because we face what others deem impossible and find a way forward together." The Cliven commander's expression softened, a subtle acknowledgement of respect. "Your species is different, worth observing, worth understanding. You have passed this challenge, human. Both individuals may live." Relief washed over the trio, but they remained vigilant. Humans had survived another impossible challenge, but the universe was vast, and challenges would come again. What mattered was not the end, but the spirit with which they faced it. Humans survived because they adapted, because they worked together, and because they refused to be defined by the limits others imposed. As they exited the tribunal, the twin sons of Zithra cast long shadows over the rocky plains. Lyra and Myra walked beside Eric, alive and unbroken. Humanity had faced the impossible and had triumphed, not through violence alone, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. On that alien world, humans had proven something fundamental, that life, thought, and ingenuity could overcome even the most rigid of rules. That strength was not just in physical ability, but in spirit, mind, and heart. And as the suns dipped lower, casting golden light across the plains, the impossible choice that had threatened to destroy them had been replaced by a new reality. Humans survived together, stronger and wiser than before. The sun dipped behind the jagged peaks of Zithra, casting long, golden shadows over the alien tribunal. Captain Eric led Lyra and Myra across the rocky plains, their steps measured but confident. For the first time since their capture, a sense of calm settled over them, not because danger had vanished, but because they had faced the impossible and emerged stronger. Lyra glanced at Eric, a faint smile on her face. "We did it. We actually did it." Myra squeezed her sister's hand. "I can't believe it. We're alive together." Eric's eyes scanned the horizon. "We survived, yes, but this is just one battle. Humanity doesn't survive by luck alone. We survive because we think, we adapt, and we act with courage. Remember that always." The Cliven commander appeared at the edge of the platform, observing them with a mixture of curiosity and respect. "Humans," he said slowly, "your species has shown unusual skill. Courage and intelligence beyond what our systems predicted. You are different from others we have judged." Lyra stepped forward. "We are human. That means we face impossible odds and we refuse to give up. We survive because we work together, because we adapt, and because we never let fear control our choices." The commander studied her silently, his alien eyes reflecting something almost like admiration. "You have passed the test. Not by submission, not by sacrifice, but by unity and action. Both may live." Relief washed over Myra, and even Lyra allowed herself a small exhale. Eric, however, remained alert. They were alive, yes, but Zithra was still alien territory. The Clivens might respect their skills, but survival demanded constant vigilance. "Let's move," Eric said quietly. "We need to get back to the ship before nightfall. Darkness on this planet hides dangers that even Clivens would not control." The three humans navigated the rocky plains carefully, their senses sharp. Dust swirled in the wind, reflecting the fading sunlight in hues of gold and purple. Every shadow could hide threats, every sound could signal danger, but humans had learned to survive by staying aware, by adapting to their surroundings, and by trusting each other. As they walked, Myra spoke softly. "I can't stop thinking about what happened back there. The choice, the way they tried to force us apart. How did we even manage to win?" Eric looked at her with a steady gaze. Humans survive impossible choices because we don't just react. We plan, we adapt, we work together. The Clivens expected fear, hesitation, and surrender. But we gave them something they couldn't predict: courage, intelligence, and unity. Lyra nodded. Every species has rules, patterns, and weaknesses. Humans don't just follow patterns. We create them, we bend them, and sometimes we break them, but always with purpose. That is what gave us the chance to survive. The trio finally reached the landing zone where their small scout ship waited, engines humming softly against the alien wind. They moved quickly, scanning the area for any remaining Cliven patrols. None appeared. The Clivens had retreated into their command center, perhaps still processing what had just occurred. Eric activated the ship's door panel, and a ramp extended to the ground. Lyra and Myra entered first, securing the perimeter as Eric followed. Once inside, he initiated the launch sequence. The ship lifted off smoothly, the rocky plains of Zithra falling away beneath them. Inside the cabin, silence hung for a moment. The adrenaline of survival began to fade, replaced by the weight of what they had experienced. Myra spoke first, her voice trembling slightly. "We could have lost each other. I thought I would never see Lyra again." Lyra reached out and squeezed her sister's hand. "You're here, we're both here, that's what matters. We survived because we trusted each other." Eric smiled faintly. "Trust, teamwork, and courage, that's what humans are made of. Not strength alone, not fear, not obedience. We survive because we think, we adapt, and we refuse to give up." The ship rose higher, leaving Zithra behind. Through the viewing port, the jagged mountains and crystal fortress shrank beneath them. The Clivens had been formidable, precise, and cruel in their rules, but humans had proven something that could not be measured by force alone. Humans had ingenuity, creativity, and a unity that defied expectation. Lyra leaned against the console, her eyes on the fading horizon. "Do you think the Clivens will respect us now, or just fear us?" Eric considered for a moment. "Respect and fear are different. They might not fully understand us yet, but they will remember. Humans survive in ways that cannot be ignored. We leave a mark just by refusing to give up." Myra's eyes brightened. "We proved it, not just that we can survive, but that we can survive together no matter what." Eric nodded. "Yes, that is humanity. We survive because we work together, because we adapt, because we fight impossible odds, and because we refuse to let fear or death dictate our choices." The trio sat in silence for a few minutes, letting the enormity of their survival sink in. They had faced an impossible choice, a threat designed to tear them apart, and yet they had emerged stronger, smarter, and more united than before. Finally, Lyra spoke. "We should tell the others, humanity's survival isn't just about us. It's about every human who faces impossible odds and refuses to give up. Our example can show them what is possible." Myra nodded. "We can't let fear decide for us. We have to act, think, and survive, together." Eric's gaze hardened with resolve. "Exactly, and this is only the beginning. Humanity is just starting to reach the stars. There will be more challenges, more impossible choices, but we will survive because that is what humans do." As the stars of Zithra's sky stretched out before them, the ship's engines thrummed steadily. The alien world shrank behind them, but its lesson remained. Humans were unpredictable, intelligent, and resilient. No rigid law, no ultimatum, no alien force could measure the true strength of a species that survived not through fear or violence, but through unity, courage, and cleverness. Lyra turned to Eric. "What do we do next?" Eric smiled, a spark of determination in his eyes. "We continue. Humanity's journey is just beginning. We explore, we survive, and we prove, everywhere we go, that humans are not to be underestimated. We face the impossible, and we make it possible." Myra's voice was quiet but firm. "And we do it together." "Yes," Eric agreed. "Together, that is what makes us strong. That is what makes us human." The twin suns of Zithra faded behind the horizon as the ship accelerated into the stars. Ahead lay new worlds, new challenges, and new possibilities. Humanity had faced an impossible choice and had triumphed, not because they were the strongest, but because they were human, intelligent, resourceful, brave, and united. The impossible choice had been survived. The sisters were alive. And humanity's story, far from over, continued among the stars. As the stars stretched infinitely before them, Eric, Lyra, and Myra knew one truth. No alien law, no impossible ultimatum, and no threat could define humanity. Humanity defined itself by courage, ingenuity, and the unwavering refusal to give up. And in that truth, humans were unstoppable.